Hey guys, welcome back. So, I'm gonna play guitar for you guys. So I'm in open A tuning. But I thought of another song, a new song I'm gonna bring to the band. Actually, bring to Ian, but I wanted to title it "Underground Sound." But the song is about so many of us who want to play music. A lot of it happens like when we basically it's a the song is about progress and how to become musicians. And a good way of looking at it is it's about a man, a young adult who is trying to find his purpose in life. But him and his family live down in the sewers, and the only way up is by enhancing his skills as a musician. But he's starting because they call it underground musicians, not so much coming from the sewers, but kind of like a good example is a band trying to find hunting for a drummer or a guitar player from guitar or drummer that either decided not to be in a band or just decided to quit. um a lot of musician or bands, famous bands, will look on the internet, or they will possibly find another permanent drummer from another band that might not be touring with that band or something like that. But I know a good example is Five Finger Death Punch. Andy James was a guitar player that I'm pretty sure Jason had looked at, because this guy posts videos of playing guitar, like, and he's really skilled. I can see why Five Finger Death Punch really was looking at him through his guitar playing. It makes a lot of sense. But this song that is, I haven't written any lyrics to it yet. I came up with the chord progression. I have the capo on the third fret, but as I said, I'm in open A. That's what the tuning is for this song. But I will play it for you guys. All right, here we go. That was it. Are you okay? Are you okay? Down out now, now. Well, that would be cool. Are you okay? What's it? Are you okay? 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 Come with me now. Come with me now. Come with me now. Come with me now. Are you okay? Strap in. But yeah, I think that was a cool riff I made up. All right, I'm gonna go get the Beatles book. I'm gonna we'll read a couple more chapters and then I wanted to show you guys something cool. after that. All right, guys. Here it is. You know what? We'll do a couple chapters of the Beatles book, and then we'll get right into that. All right. All right. So we stopped right at chapter 3. Here we go. So we'll read until. So we'll do 2 chapters. So we'll read 3 and 4 tonight. Late November 1940. Mary Mohan is 30 years old and still unmarried. Mary's mother died in 1919 while giving birth to her 5th child, who also died at the time. Mary was 10 years old. Perhaps influenced by this early tragedy, Mary set her heart on becoming a midwife. She achieved her ambition and more. She is not she is now not only a midwife but a ward sister. Jim McCartney is 38 years old and still unmarried. He was his mother's 5th child, but only the third to live beyond the age of 2. He left school just before his 14th birthday and got a good job at a cotton broker's. He is now a cotton salesman on a decent wage. His main love, though, is playing trumpet with his own 6 to 8 piece ensemble, Jim Mack's band. They perform all the latest dance tunes. Jim's favorite is I'll Build a Stairway to Paradise. Excused wartime service became or excused wartime service because he is deaf in one ear. Jim is attached to the Fazakli fire unit. Fazakli fire unit. German bombs have been falling on Liverpool since August. London is the only city to have suffered more devastation. Somehow the deadpan liver Budley humor sees them through over in Arnold Grove. The Harrison family have had their windows blown out and their leather sofa, which they reserved for special occasions, was shredded by the flying glass. If I'd known that was going to happen, We could have been sitting on it all these years, observes Mrs. Harrison. Mary lodges with Jim's sister Jin. Mary and Jim have known each other quite well for some years now, though they have never thought of each other in terms of romance. Tonight, the Nazi bombs fly overhead. Jin and Mary are visiting Jim's mom in Scargreen Avenue when the sirens sound, so they have to stay over. As the bombs fall, Jim and Mary sit and chat for hours. By the time the all clear is sounded, they feel they are meant for one another. After a brief engagement, they marry on April 15th, 1941. Just just over a year later, Mary gives birth to their first child, a boy. They christen him James Paul McCartney. Tonight is quiet. The sirens never sound. As it happens, they will tomorrow night. When Jim and Mary are planning on staying home, so Jim and Mary fail to have their heart to heart and go their separate ways. James Paul McCartney is never born. We had been told to gather, so we're already at chapter 4. We had been told to gather outside Liverpool at Speke Hall, described by the National Trust as a rare Tudor timber framed manor house in a most unusual setting on the banks of the River Mersey. The estate, has the guidebook advises, witnessed more than 400 years of turbulent history. I was early, so I hung around in the visitor complex, a building, not a condition, looking at mugs and scarves and soaps and books about the Tudors. A bit of a bookworm, thumb through our collection of adult and children's books to find your next great read. Before long, a cheery driver Shepherd called Joe shepherded us onto a mini bus, then asked us where we were from. Three of us were from Spain, two from Italy, four from Australia, two from Austria, four from England. A couple of people who had bought tickets were missing, so we waited until two young women came running towards the bus, waving frantically. Let's give them a fright, said Joe, turning on the ignition and setting off. They waved more frantically, and now let's see those tears turn to laughter, said Joe, stopping the minibus and letting them in. As the minibus left Spec Hall, Joe pressed a button and Love Me Do came bursting from the speakers. What's this rubbish then? Shouted an Australian at the back. I can see who will be walking back, said Joe. When he gets off the bus, let's jump in. Let's jump up. It was all very merry. Soon we were in Forthland Road, the kind of unassuming row of nondescript houses most National Trust members would normally drive through, rather than to the National Trust bought 20 Forthland Road in 1995 on the suggestion of the then Director General of the BBC, a Liverpudlian called John Burt, who had noticed it was up for sale. 7 years later, the Trust also acquired John Lennon's child home, Mendips and Menlove Avenue, after it had been bought by Yoko Ono. In a statement around that time, she said, when I heard that Mendips was up for sale, I was worried that it might fall into the wrong hands and be commercially exploited. That's why I decided to buy the house and donate it to the National Trust, so it would be well looked after as a place for people to visit and see. I am thrilled that the National Trust has agreed to take it on. But it was a decision not welcomed by one and all. Tim Knox, at that time, the National Trust's head curator, declared himself furious The trust's usual criterion for taking on a property that the building should have inter, inter artistic merit. Had he felt been abandoned in pursuit of shabby populism, their publicity coups, not serious acquisitions, he said, adding only half jokingly, now we're going to take 4 properties on so Ringo doesn't feel left out. Others agreed. Ar- Architecturally, the house is no more or less interesting than any other arterial pebble dash semi in any middle class suburb. Observed the design critic Stephen Bailey, its special value comes from the vicarious mystical contact with genius. The problem for the trust's architectural historians is that since the house was pretty much denuded of its contents, there is no possibility of vicarious physical contact with a genuine teleset kitchen unit or any other artifact that might afford an insight into the inspiration that gave us such a torrent of brilliant words and music. So they set about faking it. The National Trust prides itself on its access to expertise. It has some of the world's leading architectural historians on its staff, and they went out to buy this stuff to recreate Lennon's home. But when scholarly expertise is focused on junk in a magical mystery tour of some dignity Liverpoolian dealers, schoolery expertise looks silly. A crap medicine cabinet is admired for its authenticity. The lino is subject to scrutiny worthy of a Donatello relief sculpture. They can find the conical legs of the television set, but not the set itself. If you are doing the long and winding road of fakery, where do you stop? In the dream world of folk, memory, and fantasy is the answer. The National Trust remains undaunted. Imagine walking through the back door into the kitchen where John Lennon's Aunt Mimi would have cooked him his tea. Reads his awestruck introduction to Mendip's. It treats the house as a religious shrine, a place of pilgrimage. Join our fascinating custodian on a trip down memory lane. John's bedroom is a very atmospheric place in which to take a moment with your own thoughts about this incredible individual. Pilgrims to Mendip's face rules and regulations stricter than those for the Sistine Chapel. Any photograph inside Mendip's or duplication of audio tour material is strictly prohibited. You will be asked to deposit all handbags, cameras, and recording equipment at the entrance to the house. It can't be long, surely, before one of the faithful witnesses some sort of miracle at Mendip's. A blind man sees a crippled man rises up and walks. A little girl sees John's mother Julia in a vision, leading yet more pilgrims to flock to Menlove Avenue, forming orderly queues for the chance to see the exact spot where Julia met her end. While our minibus was decanting its passengers, many more were pouring out of a magical mystery tour, coach and behind them. 4 Germans were stepping out of a black cab. The gateway to 24th and Road was polluting with visitors, paulating with visitors from all over the world, wearing Beatles t-shirts and posing for selfies. The metal sign outside announces the proud family home of the McCartney family, Jim, Mary, Paul, and Mike. Accessible via the National Trust, I started edging towards the front of the queue. I had booked away in advance and paid £31, including guidebooks for an official tour of both Beatles houses, and I was worried that people on unofficial tours would creep their way past the guide and elbow their way into Paul's house and my place. Luckily, Joe, the driver, was standing by, monitoring the chosen few. Our little group marched self-importantly into the front garden of 20th Forthland Road, and the gates were then satisfyingly closed on everybody else. Our National Trust guide introduced herself as Sylvia. She conducts 12,000 people a year around Paul's childhood home. 20 at a go 4 times a day. Her voice has a hint of Hykineth Bucket standing in the garden. She welcomed us to 20th Forthland Road. This, she said, was where Paul lived for 8 years. Very important years musically. George Harrison was an early visitor. George would bring his guitar. A buzz went around. Stephen Bailey's promise of mystical contact seemed to be taking shape. And then when John Lennon started to come down to the house, John would take a shortcut through the golf course to get here on his bicycle, taking less than 10 minutes through the golf course. And in the room behind you there, she gestured, that's where John and Paul sat down and began writing songs together. By the time Paul left here, it was right at the end of 1963. So the Beatles had already got hits in the charts. They were appearing on television. Paul was still coming back through. Paul was still coming back, though. That was still his bedroom. Up there, right until the end of 1963, he was the last Beatle to move to London. So the McCartneys came. Sorry, are you recording? I froze. I had been covertly recording Sylvia on a mobile phone, but it turned out that she was talking to one of the Australians. Standing closer to her, he assured her that no, he wasn't recording. No, she replied suspiciously. I'm sorry, I just don't like it. She muttered before struggling to regain her thread. The McCartneys. So, when the McCartneys came to live here, these were all council houses. So that means the McCartneys didn't own this house. It was social housing. Everybody paid rent. Unbeknownst to Sylvia, I carried on recording, slyly holding my phone at a casual angle so as not to excite her attention. It made me feel on edge, as though I were pocketing household products within spitting distance of a store detective. Over the years, you can see what's happened. People have bought the houses, they've changed the doors and windows. When the National Trust got this house 22 years ago now, there were new windows at the front. But the trust saw that a house across the street still had these original windows. So they did a deal. They got the new ones and we got the old ones back again. So now it looks exactly as it did when Paul and his family lived there. We all gazed doubtfully at these front windows, marveling that they now look just like they would have looked before they looked different. Meanwhile, my phone was recording and I was growing increasingly worried that Sylvia would notice and denounce me. Okay, so if anyone wants a photograph at the front of the house, just give me your phone or your camera. Move to the end of the window so I can fit you in. Bunch up a bit for me. Groups of visitors stood beaming in front of Paul's old front door, or what would have been Paul's old front door if it had been Paul's old front door, which it wasn't. Is that everyone? Is that it? Sylvia warned us that we were not allowed to take photographs in the house or the back garden. There's a special reason here. You'll see inside we've got Mike McCartney, Paul's younger brother's copyright photographs all around the house. It's lovely to have them and you'll enjoy them, but he'd take them away if people had photographs of them. We moved into the back garden. The National Trust blurb suggests 5 things to look out for at 20th Forthland Road. One is described as the back drain pipe. After Paul's mom died, his father would insist that the 2 boys were home in time for dinner. If not, they were locked out. When this inevitably happened, Paul and Mike would run around the back of the house, climb up the drain pipe, and through the bathroom window, which they always left on the latch for such an eventuality. Sylvia repeated this anecdote almost word for word as we all started the pipe, or to be accurate, the replica drain pipe. So if when you come in, you could hand me your bags and cameras, and if you've got a mobile phone, you can switch it off and hand it in. So we don't want to see mobile phones in your pockets. With that, Sylvia ushered us inside. Everyone lined up to give her their phones and cameras as though crossing the border of a particularly nervy country. She then locked them all in a cupboard under the stairs. Disobediently, I kept my mobile phone in my pocket and immediately regretted it. Throughout the rest of my visit, I was terrified that someone would phone me, and the ringing would act as an alarm bell, and I would be unmasked and shamed. We all squeezed into the sitting room, decorated with 3 different types of wallpaper. The McCartney family bought end of rolls, none of them original. The brown armchair, chunky 1950s television, and corner table were not original either, and nor were the rugs. This is the room the McCartneys called the front parlor. The National Trust has recreated it with the aid of photos and family memories, said Sylvia. In response to a query, she said that no, the piano was not original. Paul still owns his father's house. He stays in it when he comes to Liverpool. And that's where the original McCartney piano is. Jim used to play The Entertainer. Do you know that song by Scott Joplin? If you think of Scott Joplin and When I'm 64, you can really tell the influence. Father Jim was a good self-taught musician. Paul followed in his father's footsteps. After a few lessons, he said, I'll be just like my dad. I'll teach myself. He composed World Without Love here. Man, there's a crap ton. I'm going to stop there. We're almost halfway, but that is it. I'm just going to go grab a drink but I'm going to, so we left on page 16. All right. But yeah, I'm going to come on here. Actually, when I get back from getting a drink, I'm going to review something. And I'm actually going to tell you guys something of what this world needs. even though it won't happen because fiction is fiction. It's not real. Fiction comes in movies, media, video games, but I think if fiction was real and there was fiction that was nonfiction out there, especially certain characters in fiction. Hang on a second. All right. So just kind of a disclaimer, um, or not so much a disclaimer. A lot of these figures I will be showing. Um, all right. Cool. So I am gonna show you guys these figures. So most of these figures. So basically, the scenario is if we were. So since the world is not, unfortunately, right now it's where people, we're facing a lot of challenges through history, violence, um, lack of hope, lack of trust for sure. Um, but again, it doesn't mean we can't grow stronger as a nation. And I will say, I think a lot of us like to use our imagination or get away from the negativity. Now, I think it's really cool that if we could all see fictional characters appearing for us, fictional characters, so that would be like, for example, we think of fictional characters as Harry Potter, Transformers, Marvel. So any franchise out there that is not, obviously anything out there that is not real. It could be, as I said, it could be in the form of movies, video games, books. Um, I will say dinosaurs would count, but dinosaurs were here way before us. So I will say dinosaurs would also, I wouldn't call them fiction necessarily. So I want to leave dinosaurs kind of out of this, but I don't at the same time because I think if we had dinosaurs, that this it would we wouldn't be having as many issues. Um, but let's just say if obviously the nation, we all are fighting, and we would be able to have these characters summoned as we wanted them, helping us with battle. I mean, that includes villains too. That includes villains, heroes, anti-heroes. Um, but I collected a bunch of my figures, and I was really trying to think about, okay, who would be good for what, and what abilities would they have that would be able to rewrite history through fiction. Um, but I will say I left dinosaurs out, not stating that dinosaurs aren't important, but they exist. So they would be something that is nonfiction. But I literally have things in this big tote, or at least fairly decent sized tote of figures that are not real, that are all fiction. A lot of them are coming out of movies and video games and stuff like that. You'll see some scary figures. You will see characters that use magic more than scaring the hearts out of people. Um, you'll see cute creatures, but what I want to do first is so in honor, not just only for our team here of figures that I feel, and these are figures I specifically chose, that what I would say, right, the three words, infliction, protect, the level of protection, and I would say really abilities is what we're going to count. So protection, if this character has protection, how is it going to benefit us facing the enemy, our enemies? But I wanted to start off with a set in honor of the Lanterns, Green Lantern series that just aired. I still have yet to watch it. My dad recorded the first episode, but it is. I watched the trailer. It looks really good. Um, I will say they're using Hal Jordan and John Stewart's in the show as well, and Guy Gardner, which is so where we have three lanterns already in this series. I'm hoping, but they are fighting an alien race called the Manhunters, which shapeshift into different aliens, so they have shapeshifting abilities. Um, but I'm very much excited to watch it. But I wanted to show this collection set I picked up at Bull Moose. I picked it up right actually before Bull Moose and Wyndham shut down, but I was lucky to even obtain this. It was only $13, and it's a Green Lantern 7-piece PVC set that came out in 2000. But it shows you all of like the Green Lantern, the human Green Lanterns and one of the Lantern Protectors, but we have Alan Scott. So so Alan Scott was the very first Green Lantern. Earth's first Green Lantern fashioned his own power ring from a mystical artifact known as the Star Heart. So, also known as Power Ring, he is the one with the purple and green cape. We next to him we have Guy Gardner right here. So Guy Gardner is so those of you that saw the Superman movie, the James Gunn Superman movie, know that he was played by Nathan Fillion. Fillion. We've got below him, we've got Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern. Next to Kyle, we've got the Ganthet, Guardians of the Universe. But they were the ancient and massively powerful race that created and guided the Green Lantern Corps. Um, Hal Jordan, of course. He got his ring from the dying alien that crashed to Earth, Abensur. John Stewart, and then we have Sinestro. Um, but John Stewart originally was chosen as an alternate Green Lantern. John Stewart was an architect who became a full-fledged Green Lantern before retiring from his career as a hero. And of course, we have Sinestro. Unfortunately, his power corrupted him, but really, I remember he chose to wear because that's the thing. Sinestro, what many people don't know about Sinestro is I'm pretty sure he's worn all the lantern rings, including green, white, um, yellow, orange. But yellow, I believe, yeah, yellow's the color of fear. That's right. So Sinestro is definitely. I am actually glad. I mean, it makes sense they add Sinestro because he was a Green Lantern. Um, but again, this is a really good set. And it was only $13, but it's a DC Direct set that I'm always. I mean, honestly, it's a gem for me. The box is a bit, obviously, it is damaged, but it didn't really bother me with the purchase. I mean, $13 is really good for something like that. In the year it came out was 2000, but the value I feel like would be dropped a lot because I bought the box damaged, so it definitely has. So I don't. I mean, even if you were to take it to a pawn shop, you wouldn't be getting a lot for it, especially how beat up it is on the top corners and. But anywho, without further ado, we'll get into this tote. So I'm gonna start with who I have here already on the table. So we've got the two dragons from Yu-Gi-Oh! This is the Black Dragon, I believe. Um, Now I don't know a lot about Yu-Gi-Oh! All I know is that I feel like if we have any kind of dragon, especially these guys, because they're two of the most powerful dragons in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe, as I read before, they would do some serious damage to any kind of war. Um, Especially if they were to like work together. They would definitely be good dragons for like airborne support, even on ground, on the ground too. So they'd be like an aerial on ground duo. Protection, I feel like would be very high. Rating the protection, maybe, or defense, that is. I think they definitely would be at a 9.5 for protection. Um, but yeah. But here's the Black Dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh! He's really cool. And then here's the Blue Dragon. But next up, and those are actually, I have two more Yu-Gi-Oh figures in here, but next up we have, oh, what is his name? Was it? Shoot, Skull Crusher and his counterpart. But these are the Transformer Snap-ins from Hasbro, but it's two Transformers that make one transformable animal. So we have Skull Crusher. He's from Beast Wars, but he's supposed to be a crocodile. Okay, we'll start here next. Here is actually, I'll show you guys how these work because they're kind of cool, and but if you but they make like your own, like you get two Transformers. So here is Skull Crusher. Unfortunately, the legs are molded, but you can move his hands up and down. And then here is his counterpart, his enemy. Or wait, no, this is what's his name? Skull Crusher. This is his enemy. But really cool other than that. But I'll show you guys kind of how to morph them back. Actually, yep, you just want to line them up. And then because they're already in place, but they're pretty easy to put together. But you can swap them for other Transformer parts too. So if you wanted to exchange the head or the front with like Optimus Prime, you can like swap them too, which is cool. But yeah, there is Skull Crusher. Next up, we have the Happy Meal. I do have a McFarlane figure of Black Manta, but I think Black Manta would obviously the Transformer like what is his name? Skull Crusher. He'd be good in like I would say like underwater combat if there was like boats, submarines. Um, I think he'd be a good powerhouse character. Defense, I can definitely see. Next up, though, we've got Black Manta. Now, again, Black Manta, I feel like would be a good combatant in the water. Of course, he is. Um, Definitely on the ground. Especially if he had the Black Trident, I think he would just be unstoppable. But yeah, there is Black Manta. He does so his gimmick was he had like some sort of like piece that goes in, and this would be the button here to fire it. Um, but there's Black Manta. Next up we have let's see, we've got Donkey Kong. So another McDonald's or Burger King figure. Um, he does have a gimmick. It's a spinning wheel, but he can kind of like turn his fist all the way around. But I feel like Donkey Kong would definitely be like a retro, definitely would be a combat character, smashing buckets on people's heads or like supplying buckets or like putting like explosives in buckets or something and throwing them, letting them blow up like the game. So, yeah, I feel like Donkey Kong could go by his own game and treat, a lot of these soldiers as as I said as basically just throwing barrels at them with explosives. So really just kind of like a I feel like he'd be a character that would have good like crowd control, especially for throwing the buckets at like or the barrels at like a far distance. He'd be a freaking definitely a crowd he would control the crowd or the army from closing in. All right. So we've got let's see. We've got here's one. We've got General Zod from the Man of Steel. Kal-El. But yeah, General Zod would be. I feel like anybody like Superman would crush these guys like nothing. Especially if we're talking about somebody like Zod. Kal-El. Okay, we got Batman here. Whoops. So Batman would be a really good one. Obviously, Batman would be, especially Dark Knight. This was a cool Batman figure, but he has like batarangs, but he can like take one from his backpack there and just launch them rapid fire. But I got him used, so he doesn't have the batarangs, unfortunately not. But he is a cool figure though. But he can make like a yeah. So if you wanted. Let's see here. Oh, we got King Ghidorah. So this is where we can kind of talk about kaiju-based characters or Titan characters. I do have Godzilla. I've got King Kong too, but Ghidorah would just. I feel like Ghidorah would change the environment, like would change like the weather, where people would have to. He'd be the Stormbringer during the wars, during the violence. All right. So we've got Shere Khan from the Jungle Book. Unless this is the tiger from Aladdin, but I'm pretty sure this is Shere Khan. Um, but yeah, Shere Khan would be a really good villain. I mean, especially like being a tiger coming out of nowhere. Shere Khan would be stalking the villages, looking for these people. Definitely bringing a lot of fierce energy into a village, or he'd be a character that would do really well at driving things away. Next up, we've got Captain Hook from Peter Pan. Captain Hook would be awesome. He'd be able to like navigate people to where they need to go, or as I said, his boat would be able to bring like a crap ton of people. Or like no, he would be like that captain where he could bring people back to where they need to go. He would be the one to transfer people away from being tortured. By loading them on his ship. I do like this lineup though. Oh, they all bring something awesome to the table. The hell? And I also feel like Black Manta and Captain Hook would work really well together. All right, we got. I don't know what the video game this guy is from. I'm gonna guess Borderlands or something or Fallout, but he would be a good like Wastelander guy, or like as I said, like kind of maybe like a guide. We've got a lifeguard or a scuba diver. He'd be able to help people. I feel like get out of the water if there was. I mean, we could actually have this guy as like a Jaws character or Jason Statham from the Meg. I won't get through all these figures tonight, but good majority of them. We've got Jet Fillmore, the black or the black or the jag the Black Panther from the movie Goat. That is voiced by shoot, trying to think of her name. Gabriel. That's right. Gabriel Union voiced her, but we got a creeper from Minecraft. These guys basically explode, but they can run up to you and explode. But I think creepers would be work really well. The Punisher. Excuse me. All right, we got the Joker. This is my favorite figure of the Joker. This is from the animated series, but here's Joker. Joker would be really good. He would be a good one to play like tricks on with, tricks that lead to unfortunate consequences. But next up, we've got the King of Wakanda, Black Panther. Black Panther could lead Wakanda, I feel like, in this battle. Or if you wanted to get his hands on like a material, he'd be really good. Like a spin off version of vibranium. I feel like he'd be good at protecting people from poachers and animals. He'd be the animal rights protector. Uh, we got Wonder Woman. Oh, I am Diana Prince. Tell me, where is the best place to get a hot dog? But yeah, there's Diana. Next up, we've got a Comanche warrior. Comanche. We've got Archie the rhino from the goat. We've got main attraction, the villain for the movie, the horse. A-Bomb, aka Rick Jones. From Agents of Smash, Hulk. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if he's Star Trek or not. Nope, he's DC Comics. I'm gonna guess this might be Lex Luthor, or it could be Zod. I'm not sure. Oh, but you're fired. That's what I know. Hey, oh, what are you doing? No, I told you to do your job. But I'll show a couple more figures. Oh, here's a good one. So our next one is this thing. So this is another dragon. It doesn't have its wings, but It could be something like very dangerous because it's got a vine tail and like these vines. So this thing would destroy military tanks, whatever, especially if it's hunted. This thing would be dangerous on so many levels. And the protection, I feel like it would have a lot of protection, shielding, defense, especially because it's a dragon that has feet or has stumps for feet. Next up, we've got Tommy Oliver, aka the White Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, or the Green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, or the Black Dino Thunder Ranger, Red Zeo, and Turbo Power Ranger. But yeah, but he would be awesome. He would be a good one, definitely for combat, for direct combat. Even if he had to summon his White Tiger Zord and battle, but on the ground for sure. We'll do a Disney character. So we've got Beast, another Happy Meal figure. I do have the Rose. I do have all of him. But this is Beast. Beast would be a freaking... He would be the royal, like, cursed king. Meaning that he would aid the lady characters, or if somebody was really hurt, he would unleash his animal inside of him, his monster. Like he did with Belle, protecting her from those wolves. And let's choose one more character, which I think I know who we'll go with next. So, since Avengers Doomsday is coming out, I have the Monster Hunter Doctor Doom figure right here. But there he is. So I feel like Doctor Doom would be definitely, especially since there's many variants of him too. There's the infamous Iron Man and Doctor Doom. I can see him really shine. Having his own like castle as well, where we can like all meet up and but anyways, guys, I will show you the rest of them tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night.